Jalen Hurts, Jalen Milroe, and Trey Lance. Those three guys in the comparison that never was. I'm Lando from the Lando Show Sports Media, and this is Sports Below the Surface, where you, the true fan, gets the truth about the team or your favorite team that you deserve to hear. All right, I wanted to clear up a couple of things today regarding some of the things that I said about Trey Lance that I do not regret, by the way. But that clearly needs, at the very least, a little bit of clarification. So without further ado here, let me just go ahead and share my screen. Maybe you guys can see this. We'll let this preface, or I guess set the table for the discussion that we're getting ready to have here. Here we go. Guys, I'm sorry for what I'm about to say, but listen, if Jalen Hurts, and I love him, if Jalen Hurts can play in a Super Bowl and win it, Trey Lance can play in this league. Somebody can maximize two elite traits at that position. Somebody will maximize Jalen Milroe's two elite traits at that position. Just because Mike McCarthy couldn't doesn't mean that Schottenheimer or somebody else, in-house or otherwise, won't. Guys, so I just want y'all to remember that. Okay, so here's what I want you to consider. Okay, first round draft pick from a year ago, the most recent Cowboys first round pick, Tyler Guyton, right? You remember what Mike Solari was saying about Tyler Guyton? You know, at least roughly to the halfway point of training camp last year. The discussion, like you automatically assume, right? A first round draft pick, that's a day one starter for you, or at least you would hope in most cases, especially when the Cowboys are in a situation, a dire one, in which they just had their Hall of Fame left tackle move to the Jets last year, right? A very clear need for them. But Mike Solari was chumming the waters of interesting, not no pun intended there, but chumming the Chuma Edoga waters. But so what I really want y'all to get y'all to think about, right? That's a first round draft pick. Tyler Guyton, that is. That they're not investing extra time, diligence, or resources into developing because their own job security was in question. Expiring contracts. All of them. The four most important position coaches or coaching positions on the roster last year were on 1 year deals. And most of everybody else underneath them. Coaching for their literal job or their football lives. So if they're gonna be hands off with bringing up and sort of easing the learning curve of a player like Tyler Guyton's progression, then what makes you think in any world that they wouldn't do the same thing or give the same treatment to a fourth round pick, referring to Trey Lance now, right? This is the same coaching staff, remember, okay, that couldn't figure out how to marry the running. It's not necessarily, I'm not questioning their coaching character or their integrity here. I'm just saying the reasons why they're no longer here, the Cowboys couldn't effectively marry the run game to the pass and otherwise have a nuanced or creative approach in running the football. We're talking about the same coaching staff here. So if they can't figure out how to effectively, creatively run the football and then marry it to the passing game, which are simple things now in the modern day, then what makes anyone think, how can anyone confidently say that Trey Lance, as we know him, is a finished product? Just because Mike McCarthy couldn't or wouldn't develop him doesn't mean that another coach can't or won't either. As I mentioned in the video, somebody is going to take a chance on those two traits. Elite arm strength and elite athleticism. That's where the Jalen Milroe comparison comes into play here. By all means, an unpolished passer from a progression standpoint and from an anticipation and accuracy standpoint on the underneath stuff. And the Jalen Hurts comp, if you read closely or listen closely to what I said, is that if Jalen Hurts can win the Super Bowl, then Trey Lance can play in this league. Play in this league now is a far cry. There's a stark difference between Super Bowl MVP and play in this league. That's a low bar, guys. Please understand that. It's a very low bar, and it's meant as no disrespect to Jalen Hurts, but they are similar profiles coming out of college as quarterbacks. Okay? Jalen Hurts wasn't always the highly efficient sideline thrower. He wasn't always a very well-prepared player to the point to where his heart rate slows down in big moments. He wasn't always as good as he is now at taking care of the football. He wasn't always the leader that he is today. Okay, those are championship caliber qualities. But even Jalen Hurts himself would admit to you that he is ever evolving. It's an ever evolving position. That's the nature of it, the quarterback position. So if Trey Lance can't even so much as sniff the field in a backup role, then how is that his fault that he hasn't developed yet? And who's to preclude anyone from investing just a little bit more time into a player with as much promise as he had? Remember, this is still a guy that Kyle Shanahan gave 3 first-round picks for. And I still applaud the Cowboys, which doesn't seem like I'm doing any at all as it relates to anything lately. But I applaud them for taking the shot on Trey when they did. I said that the night that it happened at 2 a.m. on a cruise in the Caribbean. Stayed up till 2 or 3 in the morning editing a breaking news story that the Cowboys just traded for Trey Lance. And you can find my thoughts on him from 2 years in advance of that. I've always been excited about the player and the potential and the 2 elite traits that he does possess, much like Jalen Milroe, who fans now, like you're going to see Cowboys fans say, oh, wow, take Jalen Milroe. We should draft him. Sure. Yeah, maybe they should if you want to, but just realize he isn't that much different, if at all. You're going to have the same issues. So the point is, if you're banging the drum for Jalen Milroe, remember, I'm speaking about Milroe here. Don't think Hurts anymore. I realize that can be a confusing. A lot of Jalen's going on here. Jalen Milroe, the incoming rookie out of Alabama. Very similar traits as Jalen Hurts. Yes. But Trey Lance here, it's the unpolished part of this. That's where I really want people to focus on. Okay, if you're going to lobby for giving Jalen Milroe a shot and spending another 5th-round pick, you might as well just give Trey Lance another shot and continue along with the continuity of the offense that you brought Brian Schottenheimer back here for in the first place. It was a quarterback decision. And that quarterback decision, Brian Schottenheimer has now gone out of his way to solve the issues that Mike McCarthy and his team couldn't. And I feel confident that they will, based on what we know about all the coaches underneath his umbrella now in Dallas that have had immense amounts of success, much more so than anybody on the Cowboys roster last year could say, with regard to running the football. If you believe that that this staff can overhaul the running game, which most of us do, then why can we not have the same discussion? about overhauling the backup quarterback position too, or at least revolutionizing the way that we prepare and invest into it. That's the whole point. I don't care whether we bring back Trey Lance or not. Yeah, I've been one of the ones fighting the battle for him, banging his drum for longer than I should and louder probably, longer and louder than I should. I'll be the first to admit that. Was it a waste of a pick? Maybe, but I love the team building principle about it. Minimal risk at most, at the most important position in all of sports. I would bring Trey Lance back on a minimal $2 million a year. Prove it deal. 1 year, 2 year, 3, whatever he would agree to. I'd do it. And I also mentioned too, new Cowboys offensive coordinator, Clayton Adams. Where was he last year? Arizona. Who was their quarterback? Kyler Murray. Trey Lance, at least that, as far as the athletic profile of his is concerned, is much closer to Kyler Murray than Dak Prescott is. I think he can be highly effective situationally right now, but I also think that he can grow significantly in the other areas in the process if he just gets the chance, the reps, right? Because it's a reps thing at this point. I think it's less than 1,000 career attempts in his entire college and pro career. Played 4 years at North Dakota State, and he's been in the NFL. This is his 4th year now, or 5 now. Guy hadn't played football. So I just want us to remember that that hasn't, has not, does not mean will not. Okay? And conventional wisdom isn't always wise. That's it. I'm Lando from the Lando Show Sports Media. This is Sports Below the Surface. And I hope that you learned something today. If you did, hit that subscribe button to you, or for you. To you is completely free. Most people don't know that, especially if you're new to sports media consumption. I think that's all I got. 4:12. Time to go pick up my girls, go eat some dinner. That's it. Remember, prayer changes things, and the war's already won. Talk to you guys soon.